the big boys have come calling for Big 12 coaches this coaching cycle. And another one could bolt. Another one could bolt. Is Kenny Dillingham going to Michigan? That's the question. Now, I assume most of you are aware of the Sherrone Moore saga at Michigan right now. I don't want to dive too terribly deep into that because it is a horrific story. Everything that's happened there, just carnage and collateral damage all over the place for the way that Sherrone Moore has conducted himself. He was in jail. There were mugshots. It was surreal. There have been, OnlyFans models coming out with text messages or DMs from him. It's quite a mess, right? But the bottom line is he's out. It's another scandal at Michigan. Sherrone Moore is gone. They need to find a head coach. It's obviously very late in the coaching cycle here. And on Friday night is really when I started to get pretty clued into the rumors that were flying around there about Kenny Dillingham. I will say, not that this is like be all end all. I don't know that he has like hiring power here, but Josh Pate, one of the biggest voices in college football media these days, he basically willed Matt Campbell to Penn State. He was saying Matt Campbell the entire time through that 50-day process, and eventually it happened. He very quickly, upon the Michigan job opening, said, hey, I would go after Kenny Dillingham. Like, they should be going after Kenny Dillingham. That's a guy who could really thrive and really succeed there. So that starts, and you think, all right, well, that runs parallel to what happened with Matt Campbell, right? If you're a Big 12 fan, you're like, hey, man, how about let's just chill out here. Let's just chill out here with these Big 12 coaches that you're trying to throw into the Power 2. All right, well, Friday at 9:50 p.m., here's a tweet from John U. Bacon, who is one of the more well-connected Michigan sources. My guys on the Solid Verbal, shout out to them, have oft joked about the impact that John U. Bacon has. Guy who's written a lot of books. But he said, let me pull up the first tweet here, the initial tweet. Arizona State's 35-year-old head coach Kenny Dillingham is the early favorite to replace Sherrone Moore at Michigan, but I'm not hearing it's done yet. So that would seem to indicate people around Michigan do really fancy Kenny Dillingham. Again, this was Friday night. Then he followed up and said a lot can change between flirting and the altar, but Dillingham is definitely someone to watch. All right, so that was the first thing. Now, you guys heard me mention just a second ago Josh Pate, right? Josh Pate likes to, when something big is in the works, tweet a GIF of it's a cup of water that starts to ripple. And he did it right when the Matt Campbell rumors started going down to Penn State, when that really got hot and heavy for 24 to 48 hours before the decision actually came. Okay, so you know what's coming then. Friday night, here it is. Again, I mentioned Josh Pate, the guy that was pushing Kenny Dillingham to Michigan. He tweets one of these. Don't know exactly what it means. He's being very cryptic about it, but this is one of the most well-connected guys, certainly in the coaching industry and in college football in general. I'd pay attention when he throws something out there like this. And combined with the smoke that was around Dillingham, I thought, oh boy, here we go. I don't love that. Okay, but that's only the beginning of the saga. All right, then Saturday morning, Kenny Dillingham has media availability. Obviously, Arizona State's getting ready for a bowl game. And we first, even before that happens, Chris Karpman, I don't know why I keep putting the overlay back up, guys. I should just leave this off with how much I'm going to show you here. But Chris Karpman reports that Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham are working on an extension. So, like, at this point, I'm riding this roller coaster a bit with Arizona State fans because I love Kenny Dillingham. I think it would be, I'll get to more of this in a moment, just a huge blow to the Big 12 if they lost him for multiple reasons. I want him to stick around. Well, here's Kenny Dillingham and Arizona State are close to reaching an agreement on contract amendments that would increase his base compensation. So contract amendments, this isn't phrased as like an extension, but contract amendments that would increase his compensation, a raise. And then he said Dillingham confirmed that his agent is working with ASU on updated contract terms. That's one way to put it. We then start seeing some of the actual clips come out about this, right? So through some of the clips that you hear from the press conference, Kenny Dillingham said he has not had a conversation with Michigan about its coaching vacancy. That was on Saturday morning. He said it's one of the best jobs in the country and is going to be a great opportunity for someone. Laid it out like that. You can decide if that's him completely turning it down. This is where I need Parker from Stats of War, not a denial. He said he had a contract extension from Arizona State sent to him after the last game, but it's with his agent, and he doesn't involve himself with that. So these are all statements that are just the perfect, you talk about it's the Rorschach test, right? You see the ink blots and one person can see something totally different than another. I feel like his statements were just perfect for Michigan fans. Sees that and says, well, he said the Michigan job's amazing. He said there's been a contract extension on his desk for a while now. It still hasn't been signed. And he never outright denied that he's taking the job. And an Arizona State fan says, well, look, he's in talks. His agent's in talks with Arizona State right now. So we're fine. And he said Michigan's going to be a great job for someone, but he didn't say that it was going to be for him. So there's a lot here that I think you're looking at it from two different angles, what is going on? Well, then there's this, and this is the final piece of what becomes a two-sided deal. All right. This is some actual audio that I'm going to play you or show you a video of Kenny Dillingham here when he was asked about Arizona State and what it means to him.
I love this place. Like I said, is that a long enough pause? But this place is it's a special place to me.
Okay. That's a lot to take in there, right? That was a very long pause, Kenny, when asked about how much Arizona State means to him. And so, again, you have Arizona State fans saying, look, he's not leaving. Look at that emotion when thinking about this place. Meanwhile, I've seen the Michigan crowd being he's emotional because he does love the place, but he knows in the back of his mind he very well may leave. Then we get an AP story that comes out on Saturday that says Dillingham and Eli Drinkwitz have been contacted by Michigan's search firm. Okay, here's the byline from the AP. The firm hired by Michigan to search for a football coach to replace Sherrone Moore has contacted representatives for Arizona State's Kenny Dillingham and Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz. Then Kalen DeBoer, who was another rumored candidate here. A lot of people had thought that could really shake things up. Kalen DeBoer might be looking for an exit ramp from Alabama, go to Michigan where he might be appreciated more. Kalen DeBoer put out a statement today that said he's staying in Alabama. So now we wait and we wonder. Jedd Fisch has been the other name I've seen come up a lot, along with Kenny Dillingham for Michigan potentially. So Arizona fans, I'm sure, are loving all of this. If it's going to be either Jedd Fisch or Kenny Dillingham at Michigan, I'm sure it's a fun time for them to monitor all this. But look, man, I get it. Bracket Cat, I see this. I'm well aware. I'm well aware of how much Kenny Dillingham talks about how his sister lives right down the street. His sister's his neighbor. His parents live right down the street. I've heard the spiel. I know it. And I'm not saying I called it a spiel. I'm not saying that it's disingenuous or anything like that at all. But Kenny Dillingham did have a chance to say, hey, I'm not going to Michigan at a Saturday press availability. And he did not say, I'm not going to Michigan. That seemed to me like a guy who's hedging a bit. I'm somebody that wants him to stay. Look, I know I'm not an Arizona State fan. I want Kenny Dillingham to stay as much as anything because I'm going to tell you here, if the Big 12 is losing Matt Campbell in the same year as Kenny Dillingham, and Dillingham's an alum, which is why I think it doubly hurts. If you can't keep your alums from leaving, we might have to talk about what's this going to look like moving forward for the Big 12, especially with a crop of young up-and-coming coaches now in the league. I am as motivated to want him to stay in the Big 12 as anybody, but I did look at that and say that he did not come out and deny the job. And now we see, hey, the search firm later that day, Saturday, has contacted him, according to the Associated Press. I do think it's a situation worth monitoring. I'm certainly still, locked into this. I'm still very perked up as someone who's afraid to lose him. So that's my perspective on it. Like, I understand Michigan is kind of a dumpster fire. It is still Michigan. It is definitely still Michigan. I think something that he probably would have to consider or listen to, find out who's making the decision, what is the plan at Michigan to move forward with its leadership. I get it, man. Another thing Pate talks about all the time, alignment. Coaches want alignment. If you're going to take a big job like that, you want to make sure that the alignment is there from the university president to the athletic director, and these people that you're going to be working with are people that, hey, you would actually want to be working with. I get it. It's still Michigan, and it's still a job that would command enough respect that you might have to listen to it anyway. So I'm not even saying I think it's the most likely outcome that he takes the job, but I am saying I would not totally shut the door yet. I think it would be foolish to let your guard down. I'll put it that way. I think it would be foolish to let your guard down on Dillingham to Michigan as of right now. I don't know what they're going to do. I mean, Warde Manuel, if I were Michigan, I would not want Warde Manuel to be making this hire. So much scandal, so many things have happened under his watch. Over the last, 3 or 4 years, it's been crazy. It's been a bit of a mess. If I were Michigan, I'd want to move on there. But you also the portal opens in a little over 2 weeks. So you've got to get a coach in there ready to go so that you can have a portal class, man. I mean, the calendar's not doing you any favors there. You're going to have an athletic director search that quickly. There's no way that Dillingham's going to know 100% who the leadership is that he'll be working with long-term on this, or whoever the coach is going to be that would take this job. It might be a little tougher. For Michigan to find a great candidate that way, but you still got to pay attention to this. It's a job that demands enough attention and respect. Much as you may want to make fun of them, poke fun of them, whatever, not like it, it's still there. And if the Big 12 were to lose Dillingham and Campbell, not an alum, but as close to it as about anybody you could find, someone who's been there for a decade, turned down major jobs like USC in the NFL, he's finally leaving. And we hear this trail of smoke about NIL and how much that could have really hampered things, that he didn't have enough support at Iowa State on that front. And now here with Dillingham, we don't know 100% if it would be about that or if it's just the prestige of the job. But the bottom line would be you can't keep an alum who's literally tearing up when he thinks about how important the place is to him from going to one of these jobs. That's a tough blow for a league that has done a great job of holding on to these coaches for a while now. Going back the last 4 or 5 years, every offseason, people are coming for Campbell or Leipold or Kleiman or whoever. And these guys have stayed around. And now you almost lost Sataki to Penn State, teetered on the brink. Then you did lose Campbell. And then if it's Dillingham does go to Michigan, this kind of plays into what I'm about to talk about with just new era in the Big 12. There might be some self-evaluation that needs to happen about what is this league now? How fearful should we be of this? Is the world still changing dramatically even from what it is right now, where it feels like the Big 12 is in a lot of ways a second-class citizen? I did want to bring this tweet up because this is fair to mention for all the criticism that the Big 12 gets. This is Coyote Raider who has this tweet. So thank you and shout out to Coyote Raider for this one. Of course, blue blood job opens. Here they come after Big 12 coaches. He says the Big 12 sucks until your favorite blue blood fires its coach. Then all of a sudden that Big 12 success is not overlooked. And that is a very apropos and salient point because it drives me nuts. Big 12 gets crapped on all over the place until you need a quarterback or you need a coach. And what are we hearing now? I mean, Sam Levitt's going into the portal. There have been Bear Bachmeier rumors on social media. I mean, I have no idea how legit any of that stuff is or if it's just fan bases riling people up, but it stands to reason, right? True freshman who balled out the way he did this year. Hey, you need a quarterback. You need a stud quarterback. You need a stud head coach. Well, we'll come to the Big 12. Suddenly the Big 12 doesn't suck as much. So it is the unfortunate reality, though, of what you're going to have to deal with if you have successful coaches in this conference, and it may be getting more and more so that way.